Hello, it's me again. Yesterday we have talked about my family, my name, my job, my age, my hobby, and now I would like to talk about my hobby, uh, deeper understanding about my hobby, which is reading books. I love reading books, yes, but I also love reading not just book. I mean, books have several form, like novels, short stories, and also there is an ebook. Yes, on the internet. I mean, they have no actual physical copies, but it's a book nonetheless. Yes, it's there's a story in it. Talking about books, I love books about fantasy. Fantasy, sci-fi, adventure, things that not exist in the real world, in the actual real world. And recently, I also comes to love the genre of dystopia. Dystopia is a genre that talking about a future, usually a future, but not a really good future. I mean, like a post-apocalypse future, like a desolated Earth or something. Like the Earth have destroyed, maybe, or the Earth have suffered greatly. Something like that. I mean, an uncomfortable future, and that's usually what the story is. An uncomfortable future, or maybe a future that takes place in a city, but the city is a really modern place, but they have really strict rule or something. Yeah, well, it's usually about a future, an uncomfortable future. That's dystopia. You can look it on Google or something. So anyway, the thing I want, I always look about in a novel, in a book or something, but the usual lead character should be a male, because I'm male, so I don't really enjoy reading female character books. Yeah, that's me. So anyway, do you know about? I have talked about ebook, right? And there's this one application for Android which is called Wattpad, and there's a lot of free book there, free ebook, and you can read it there for free. But there's this one or two ebooks that I really comes to love, and that is there's really two books. Yes, the author have published it. The let's just say the name is PI Investigation, and that's about fantasy story. Not really fantasy, not high fantasy, not a fantasy in the medieval era, but fantasy in the modern era. I usually like the fantasy medieval era, like swords and bows and knights and kings, but not this one. The PI Investigation is about a human with supernatural power. Yes, it's good. It's really good. Wattpad. You should really look into it if you love to read books. And there's not only fantasy there. There's also romance. There's also the usual stuff. So I also wanted to share with you my weird quirk about about reading books. Yeah, I have this weird what habit of reading books that I never wanted to finish my favorite books. Yes. So like there's this one time that I know that this book only have say 30 chapter. I stopped reading it at 29, at the 29th chapter, because I don't want it to end. I mean, I feel like if I read it to the end, then it's the end. I want it to last forever. Yeah, that's my weird quirk about books. So anyway, I've already told you, right, that I love books about high fantasy, fantasy in the medieval era, fantasy with magic and things like that. All of it is inspired by gaming. I already said it yesterday that other than my reading book hobby, I also love I also love playing games. And yes, my books, my hobby about reading books, my hobby of reading books, high fantasy genre, is inspired by gaming because I mostly play games about RPG. RPG, do you know RPG? I'll explain it later. So yeah, there's I own several books I can show you here. This book contains Silver Branch. The Silver Branch is about a book about a soldier. Yeah, there's these two lead male character here, and here there are cousins, and there are soldiers of Rome. You know, Centurion. Yeah, well, yeah, Soldier of Rome. It tells the story of. The other one is not really a soldier, but a surgeon, a junior surgeon. Surgeon, you know, ahli bedah. Yeah, that's the story of an adventure of two cousins in the past, you know, in Rome, in the past Rome era, when the centurion still exists. This is an old book that I owned. It's the very first series of Harry Potter. Yeah, it's a fantasy. It's impossible that you don't know about it, but I'll explain to you anyway. It's about magic. It's about a wizard, a boy who became the greatest wizard ever lived. This is the first series of the Ranger's Apprentice. Can you see it clearly? Ranger's Apprentice. Yeah, it's about a boy that eventually will become a ranger. It's a job. Yeah, it's set in a medieval era, you know, with swords and bows. I already explained it to you. Yeah, he eventually will become a ranger. Host's job is to scout the surrounding area of the kingdom and report to the king if something is amiss or something. He's not a soldier. He wanted to be a soldier at first, but he doesn't get accepted in the academy. So instead, he was picked by a ranger, a senior ranger. So now in the first book, he was taught by that senior ranger to become a true ranger. And there's also an ebook I acquired on the internet. I copy it and I save it on my laptop. There's a really lot stories of ebook in my laptop. Really lot stories, and my favorite one is the one called Falcon Banner. Yeah, it's a story of a future sci-fi, you know, with spaceship, battleship, things like that. That Earth has evolved. I mean, they have spaceship, they have shield, they have warp, they have what? Warp gate or something. Yeah. So it's a story about a hero. He's an ordinary man named Darren Tain. Yeah. Eventually, he will become a hero of some kind in that for humanity. I mean, there's not only human there. There's also several race because humans have reached the outer space and met other aliens. They can speak to each other. Well, eventually, in this story, the human is oppressed by an alien. I mean, Earth has already been conquered, and this guy is wanted to rebel. Well, at first he doesn't want to rebel, but eventually he's dragged into it and become a hero of some kind, reluctantly. Anyway, that's the end of it, I guess. See you next time on the third video. Thank you.